The next day, I was taken out on the lake to see the field procedures. Before that day was over, I felt as though I were back in the Navy. As we headed out into the lake, I saw that there was no open water ahead, just rows of oil wells. And as an engineer, I know that what I saw is just part of it, that under the water there are hundreds of miles of pipeline connecting the wells. The wells form a geometrically exact pattern, carefully spaced, to tap the oil in the most efficient manner. Creole and the Venezuelan government work together to make sure that the field is planned for the best long-term utilization of the country's oil resources. For example, a careful check is kept on the pressure of the gas, which forces most of the oil to the surface without pumping. The gas which comes up with the oil is not wasted or burned off. 7 miles offshore, I saw one of our huge plants which injects the natural gas back into the formation. That maintains the pressure to keep the oil flowing. The drilling is done with power and equipment from big barges, tied up to the well platforms. I'll be working on the barges a lot of the time, and I'll have to speak Spanish because 92% of Creole's employees are Venezuelan. That includes a large number of the engineers and more than half of the supervisors, like the tool pushers who boss the drilling crews. Practically all the skilled workers are Venezuelan, and with their housing and other benefits, they receive about as much as men doing identical jobs in the United States. Employee relations policies are about the same too, and oil companies here operate under modern labor laws. I already feel at home in my job, even though I sometimes go to and from work in a boat. Sure, it's a different country, and I'm a foreigner here, but the Venezuelans have already made me feel welcome. All I have to do now is lick that language problem.
Dear Anne and the boys, here's the latest news on our house.
I've been looking over all the staff houses, and my favorite is the kind built high off the ground to let the breeze under, and incidentally provide a wonderful open-air playroom. They're completely shuttered with aluminum to keep out the daytime heat. I saw the interior of one house on Sunday when a Venezuelan employee invited me over. He's being transferred to a better job at Creole headquarters in Caracas, and I hope to get the house. His wife showed me all through. This one had 2 bedrooms. Some have more. I was pretty happy about the possibility, but it didn't work out. As luck would have it, the house has been assigned to another family who've been waiting some time, meanwhile living in one of the Quonset huts. And so that's how we happen to be moving into their Quonset hut on October 1st. I rushed right over to see it. It's temporary housing, of course, but these people had fixed theirs up attractively. We can do the same while we're waiting for one of the permanent houses. We'll need just about everything we have at home, except the kitchen sink. So you better start packing. Be prepared for a heavy social life, too. Everything from bridge parties at home to sports at the club. My favorite spot is the pool, even though it's mighty lonely there without you. No fun at all, really. You asked about medical care. There's a Creole dispensary for both employees and dependents. I've looked over the school, too. It's also maintained by the company. The principal is a North American, but education is in both English and Spanish. They try to make all the children bilingual. And Jeff will start learning Spanish in the first grade.
Mike, ¿qué hacen los niños?
Los niños juegan.
¿Dónde juegan los niños?
Los niños juegan en el patio.
Shirley, ¿con quién juegan los niños?
Los niños jueguen con el amigos y el perro.
Those kids made me feel a little ashamed of my Spanish, or lack of it. Everything I've described is inside the oil camp. But Creole is now trying to get away from the old idea of a company camp. Eventually, they want their people to live in regular towns, where that's possible. I saw some results of this new policy when I visited Creole's refinery at Amoy recently. We drove through the residential area, where many of the homes were built by private contractors, partially financed by the company. The houses are sold or rented to anyone, not just Creole employees. The worker is even helped with his down payment if he needs it, but after that he and his family are on their own, just as in the United States. Instead of company commissaries, they have privately operated shopping centers. Some of them started with loans from Creole. The idea of this community integration project is to make people independent instead of having to look to the company for everything. It's an interesting new development. And speaking of new developments,
Anne, I'm being sent for a month's study of Spanish in Caracas. That's where I'll be writing from next.